is Kevin Newman.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. This week, a full edition W5 investigation into an alleged worldwide cover-up of sex abuse involving an organization you may least expect, the Jehovah's Witnesses. The sect is involved in lawsuits in Canada and around the world, alleging its doctrine victimizes abused children. W5's Avery Haynes travels to London, New York, California, and across Canada to hear from victims who say that religious rules and intimidation ensure trauma is rarely, if ever, reported to police.
Scripture shields the accused.
There has to be a confession or two witnesses.
Video ke-37 berjudul Skandal Kasus Pedophilia di Organisasi Yehuwa. Doktrin Saksi Yehuwa melindungi para pedophilia. Kasus pelecehan seksual dapat terjadi dimanapun, dari rumah tangga, kantor swasta, pemerintah, bahkan sekalipun institusi keagamaan. Semestinya kasus-kasus pelecehan seksual dibawa ke polisi untuk diproses lebih lanjut. Ini adalah praktik yang dilakukan oleh gereja-gereja. Tetapi tidak demikian dengan organisasi Yehuwa yang ajarannya melindungi para pedofilia dan bahkan mengintimidasi korbannya dengan pemecatan. Sehingga dengan demikian, organisasi kelihatannya menjanjikan firdaus dunia bagi para pelaku pedofilia. Dan yang lebih aneh lagi, orang tua para korban yang semestinya melindungi anak-anak mereka malahan menutup mata dengan kejadian tersebut. Dan para orang tua turut mengucilkan anak-anak mereka yang sebenarnya adalah korban. Ketika saya menyaksikan video ini, hati saya menangis. Bagaimana kejadian yang memilukan ini bisa terjadi? Video ini sebenarnya berdurasi 46 menit. Karena terlalu panjang, maka saya bagi menjadi dua bagian. Bagian pertama menjelaskan doktrin dan pengakuan para korban lintas negara tersebut. Dan bagian kedua membahas skandal pedofilia ini diajukan ke pengadilan. Siapakah yang memenangkan kasus ini? Para korban atau Lembaga Menara Pengawal?
CTV's W5. Living strictly by the good book.
God's law is above and beyond any human law.
Where faith is challenged and innocence shattered.
I felt like ending my life.
By a religion's darkest doctrines.
This is an organization that's supposed to love and protect children.
And no one will act.
Why won't you call the police on pedophiles?
Avery Haynes
court documents obtained by W5
investigates claims of abuse and denial.
Who do you turn to? Who do you have as support?
When victims plead for justice.
And he said he didn't do anything, so there's nothing that we can do.
Scripture shields the accused.
There has to be a confession or two witnesses.
Survivors are shunned by families and the congregation.
They are brainwashing everybody.
When blind faith turns a blind eye.
And he told me that I'm a liar.
Here is Kevin Newman.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. This week, a full edition W5 investigation into an alleged worldwide cover-up of sex abuse involving an organization you may least expect, the Jehovah's Witnesses. The sect is involved in lawsuits in Canada and around the world, alleging its doctrine victimizes abused children. W5's Avery Haynes travels to London, New York, California, and across Canada to hear from victims who say that religious rules and intimidation ensure trauma is rarely, if ever, reported to police.
think of Jehovah's Witnesses, you probably think of something like this.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good.
My name's Parker, this is Spike.
Polite disciples going door to door, gently spreading Jehovah's word. But the doorstep conversations on this day are anything but routine.
We're just informing people about a dangerous group that's in your backyard.
A dangerous what?
A dangerous group.
What dangerous group? The Jehovah's Witnesses.
That's right, they're warning people about the Christian sect they once called their own.
They hide pedophiles.
They say the Jehovah's Witnesses organization is a secretive, destructive, and controlling group. A group whose policies have ignored child sex abuse while protecting known pedophiles from police.
Before, witnesses would be afraid to speak up and talk because they would be disfellowshipped and they'd lose their family.
They call themselves the Vast Apostate Army. An apostate is someone who has abandoned their faith. Within the Jehovah's Witnesses ranks, it's high up on the list of sins. These former Jehovah's Witnesses have come to this quaint town of Warwick, New York, because just down the road is the world headquarters of the Jehovah's Witnesses. They call it Bethel, the house of God, sprawling over 250 acres. 800 people live and work here, including the group's legal advisors, support staff, and the governing body. 8 men who establish and supervise Jehovah's Witnesses doctrine.
They just opened a new headquarters right in your town, and they protect pedophiles. We want you guys to know.
They actually have some policies in place that allow these predators to be going door to door.
Tricia Frangina traveled here from Edmonton. A long, expensive trip that was worth it to protest a religious group that she says stole her childhood.
As a child, every night that you went to bed, you believed this may be your last night. You may not wake up.
Of course, it was always constantly that Armageddon could be coming at any minute.
What does Armageddon look like in the world of the Jehovah's Witnesses?
In my head, it was giant fireballs coming out of the sky and people screaming and dying in front of me.
A fiery death wasn't the only thing that scared Tricia. In fact, in a way, her own world had already ended. Since she was a child, she says, she had been abused by someone she should have been able to trust the most.
Can you talk to me about the kind of abuse that you suffered?
Sexual abuse from my father. The abuse started as soon as I was born until I was approximately 14 years old.
And which one is you?
This one.
Tricia says her mother suspected something was going on and went to the church elders for advice.
They basically told her that she wasn't fulfilling her wifely duties and that she had to be a more submissive wife and make her husband happier.
She's told you need to be servicing your husband more?
Yeah.
And where does that sit in your heart and how does it sit?
It's heavy. I've gone through bouts of severe depression where I felt like ending my life because I was so unheard when I was basically screaming for help as a child.
Eventually, Tricia found the courage to go to an elder herself when she was 12. Help is not what she found.
And I explained to him what was going on, and he said, I don't have any proof and I don't have any witnesses, so I need to respect my family and not to bring it up again.
You told an elder that your dad was sexually abusing you, and he said, show us the proof?
Mm-hmm. They put the onus on the victim to produce 2 credible eyewitnesses to their assault. And by credible eyewitnesses, they mean other Jehovah's Witnesses that saw it with their own eyes.
It's actually called the 2-witness rule, inspired by passages from both testaments of the Bible.
So it's not as though the Jehovah's Witnesses have just made up their rules. I mean, they've taken stuff from within their translation of the Bible to validate their policies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Andre Gagné is a theology studies professor at Montreal's Concordia University.
You find a passage here in Deuteronomy chapter 19. No single witness may convict another for any error or any sin that he may commit. On the testimony of 2 witnesses or on the testimony of 3 witnesses, the matter should be established.
No single witness may convict. Biblical words Jehovah's Witnesses take literally.
If there's not two witnesses, it's up to Jehovah.
Absolutely. They have what is called a theocratic worldview, meaning that God's law is above and beyond any human law. If I have to submit to any kind of law, I'm going to submit to God's law.
These videos, produced for the Jehovah's Witnesses website, show happy and carefree worshipers. What they don't show, the sheltered lives, the strict rules meant to protect against the Satan-led outside world. Witnesses are required to spend hours spreading Jehovah's word door to door and at street corner carts like these. They don't celebrate holidays, no Christmases, no birthdays. And those who don't obey the rules risk being shunned by friends and family.
You have very, very little connection with the outside world. Your entire world is that. So if you're shunned from that, who do you turn to? Who do you have as support? It's very difficult.
And Jehovah's Witnesses believe in Armageddon, the final battle between God and all wicked humans. They believe it'll happen any day now.
Armageddon is a battle. It's a battle against the forces of darkness, and the only way to be saved is to actually follow Jehovah and adopt our interpretation of the Bible. That's essentially it.
Perhaps the most controversial of their beliefs has been their policy on what to do with child sexual abuse allegations.
Court documents obtained by W5 show that Jehovah's Witnesses elders are instructed to keep a record of every single child sexual abuse allegation and then forward those allegations onto the organization's own legal department. Now, in many countries, including here in Canada, the law requires that allegations like that be dealt with by police. And yet there's ample evidence that calling the police has not been the regular practice of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Back in New York,
Excuse me, folks. Can I have a moment of your time?
one of the protesters does inspire Jehovah's Witnesses to call police. His name is Zeb Leatherman, and when he's not peacefully handing out flyers,
Howdy, folks.
he's doing this.
Just another day in the office.
Zeb strolls in and interrupts Jehovah's Witnesses' services,
We have a special announcement. It's concerning the two-witness rule.
telling the congregation their religious sect has some dark secrets.
We're going to ask you to leave, sir.
And this hasn't happened just once. For the past month, Zeb has driven some 4,000 kilometers across the United States, stopping uninvited at 60 Jehovah's Witnesses churches, which are called Kingdom Halls.
Our Heavenly Father, we don't have to listen to these men anymore. Let's go. And all that happens is we wind up sweeping these cases under the rug.
Let's go. That's actually trespassing.
No, it's
by
not.
doing that.
You're invited. It's a public meeting.
What's going through your mind when you open those doors to the Kingdom Hall and know what you're about to do?
Pretty scared, but is there another way? I don't know another way right now, so I stick with this one.
Get off the premises. I'm calling the police.
Really?
Yes.
They usually call the police, and then they usually grab me, manhandle me, and throw me out.
Hold on. Hey.
Why won't you call the police on pedophiles?
Hey.
It's the only way I personally know that I can really make a difference. I don't like doing it. It doesn't feel right. And some places it might be illegal, but I don't know another way to teach that many people at one point in time.
You come in here to disrupt us.
I am. I'm trying to tear down the tower.
Zeb was born into a Jehovah's Witness family, but left in his 20s when he started doubting their strict interpretation of the Bible, including that two-witness rule. Now, his entire family shuns him.
What's your point? Why are you doing this?
Because my ultimate goal is to free my family from this cult.
Today, Zeb won't be alone. When he slips into this Kingdom Hall, just outside the religious group's world headquarters, a dozen of his fellow protesters will join him. They've sneaked in and spread out among the congregation. And as soon as the opening hymn ends, they start the interruptions, camera phones rolling.
If I could just have your attention for a moment, guys. I want you to ask your elders about the two-witness rule, because the authorities are not called when children are abused.
The Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York is being investigated. I'm talking here, sir. I'm sorry.
We're asking you very nicely at this time to leave.
So please Google all you can, folks. Learn all you can so that you can maybe escape this cult.
Abandoning their hope
I have no more time in my life for you guys. I'm done with this whole thing, man.
when all faith is lost.
It really does destroy your soul.
When W5 continues.
The Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York is being investigated. I'm talking here, sir. I'm sorry.
A dozen former Jehovah's Witnesses have infiltrated this Kingdom Hall. It's a few miles from the religious sect's world headquarters in New York State. Among them, Canadian Tricia Frangina from Edmonton.
My father sexually abused me for the first 14 years of
They say Jehovah's Witnesses' policies fail to protect child sex abuse victims, shield pedophiles, and shun people who speak out. And they want this congregation to hear what they have to say.
I was raped and was told you shouldn't have done that, and I was disfellowshipped for it. 18 years old and not allowed to have my mother talk to me for a year.
One after another, the protesters stand up to make disturbing allegations. Allegations that many of these congregants have likely never heard before.
My ex-husband is a pedophile. He raped 2 children in the Kingdom Hall. He is still allowed to be talked to by everybody.
This is an organization that's supposed to love and protect children.
Your invitation to be here has been revoked.
Don't shun your children. jwfacts.com.
After several minutes, everyone is finally ejected, and the chaos spills outside. But the accusations continue.
Can I ask you, how many pedophiles have you encountered in your record as an elder? I'm sorry, there's no comment.
Yeah, you treat us like we're dead.
I will not hate you guys. I will not hate you. You look at me like I don't exist. I'm telling you as a man, I'm right here. So I have no more time in my life for you guys. I'm done with this whole thing, man. I'm done.
A single police officer shows up, and the group slowly leaves. They reassemble in a parking lot across the street, happy they forced a different point of view into fresh ears. Tricia Frangina, who says she survived years of sexual abuse as a child, thinks the protesters' plan wasn't perfect, but it's still worth celebrating.
You could tell that people were just like, oh God, like plugging their ears. But there were a couple in the front that seemed really affected by it. So you never know who's going to go home and try and find the truth.
The police officer returns a few minutes later, and the group thinks that they're going to be told to leave.
Obviously, it's private property, so you have to leave, and you guys.
But instead of asking them to clear out, he has something else on his mind.
Holy Spirit, what's your view on that?
It's an active force, just like we're breathing here.
For the next 20 minutes, the group and the cop talk religion.
I know the Christian church and the Jehovah's Witness obviously have some theological differences.
The reception much friendlier than what they got at the Kingdom Hall.
All right, well, good luck up there, and good luck to the war with police officers up there. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day.
Have a great day.
The group may be small and their tactics improvised, but what they're saying echoes a much larger movement that's being heard in courts and high levels of government around the world. In 2015, an Australian Royal Commission investigated how the Jehovah's Witnesses organization handles allegations of child sexual abuse and how often those allegations are reported to police.
It's not done unless there's a legal requirement for it to be done, is there? That is true.
After weeks of testimony from victims, elders, and experts, the commission concluded, we do not believe that children are adequately protected from the risk of sexual abuse. They went on to state, we do not consider the Jehovah's Witness organization to be an organization which responds adequately to child sexual abuse. In this exchange, senior counsel of the commission, Angus Stewart, refuses to let a Jehovah's Witness elder deflect blame.
What ability have we got to protect every child in Australia? What you can do is you can report to the child protection authorities. And that is done in some cases. But generally it's not done, is it? No.
The commission also uncovered what had, up until that moment, been just a rumor, that the Jehovah's Witnesses kept a secret database of every single known and suspected child abuser within their congregations.
Not one was reported by the church to secular authorities.
Since 1950, JW elders in Australia have documented potential child sexual abuse cases against 1,006 members. Not one of them ever reported to police. Half a world away, Jehovah's Witnesses are also coming under legal scrutiny in the United Kingdom.
How difficult is it to litigate the Jehovah's Witnesses?
They're extremely difficult to litigate against.
Kathleen Hallisey is a London-based lawyer who won the first ever judgment against the Jehovah's Witnesses in the UK for historic sexual abuse. Her office has become the go-to law firm for challenging the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Do you believe that the Jehovah's Witnesses have a policy that purposefully protects pedophiles and puts children at risk?
I do. I would describe it as a scandal and a global cover-up and a protection of abusers.
At the risk of children?
Absolutely.
Hallisey says a British public inquiry is looking into how institutions have failed to protect children from sexual abuse, and there's now public pressure to open a separate investigation that focuses solely on Jehovah's Witnesses.
If you have a policy that requires there to be a second witness to child abuse, it means that virtually every allegation of child abuse is going to go no further. And that puts the child at risk, it puts other children at risk, and it protects the person who's the abuser.
And now Canada has joined the fray. 2 class action lawsuits have been filed against the Jehovah's Witnesses, officially known as the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. The courts haven't yet certified either lawsuit, which accused the organization of failing to protect children from sexual abuse.
It is a captive organization, so that means you can never leave.
Christian Gutierrez was one of those children. He's the public face of one of the lawsuits, a suit that seeks $66 million and will represent dozens of alleged victims.
I like this one.
Christian and his wife Katya live here in Calgary. Christmas ended months ago, but their apartment is still peppered with decorations and even a tree.
We are obsessed with Christmas because we've only celebrated Christmas 4 times. We weren't allowed as Jehovah's Witnesses, so it's really special and we try to keep it up as long as possible.
4 years ago, both were disfellowshipped, cut out and shunned because they started questioning the authority of the leaders. But it took years of fear and abuse to get there, starting when Christian was just a child.
I remember I used to be a child that liked to dance a lot, and as I was getting older, that started to stop. I remember coming to sit on the couch with my father, and he would have the book on one side and he would have the belt on the other side, ready if I didn't summarize what I had read properly, I would get a spanking.
Beating.
Yeah.
The strict corporal punishment was nothing compared to what happened to Christian when he was just 5.
I was hurt as a child by this man. It was very upsetting because to this day, certain smells can make me remember it. If I hear someone buckling their belt, it brings me back to the memories of it.
The past is still too painful to relive in detail, but Christian says he was sexually abused by a man in his congregation.
When my father found out, I got in very big trouble. And that is one of the most crushing moments, because what you need is you need help and you need support. And what I got from him was, why did you go to the elders?
Does anyone say to you, oh, Christian, we need to go to the police. Who is this? Are you okay?
It was never brought up to go to the police, not once.
Instead of calling the police, Christian says elders told him He could heal himself by reading.
They gave me magazines of their own literature on sexual abuse, and that these magazines were going to help me to get better. They were going to make me feel better from what I went through.
Whatever happened to the man who sexually abused you?
To my knowledge, nothing has happened.
Is he still in the organization?
I believe so.
Katya knows her husband's pain. She knows what it's like to grow up as a Jehovah's Witness with a dark secret.
Parts of your childhood are in here. Is it weird to look through these photographs?
It is because it's my childhood and you want to look at them and be happy, but it just reminds you, it reminds me of all the bad times.
Even back then, Katya couldn't hide her misery, not even from the camera.
In my eyes, you can just see
sadness.
It's just sadness.
Sunglasses could shield red puffy eyes, but they couldn't hide the haunted face of a victim.
And it's kind of PTSD looking at a picture of me at that age in a bathtub, because that's the time I had certain abuse happen to me was in a bathtub.
Do you want to share with us what happened to you, Katya?
Yeah, I was sexually abused by a close family relative of mine, and this person was also an elder and also a Jehovah's Witness. I don't feel like going into exact detail of what took place, but I was, sexually touched. I was just very stressed and scared, and I had a lot of anxiety.
So much anxiety that at the age of just 10, Katya took a kitchen knife into her room and held it to her wrist.
I feel like I was going through all this and nobody noticed. And I was looking for someone to help me. And I thought maybe in a child's mind, maybe if I tried to take my life, it would get someone to notice that I need help.
Before Katya could hurt herself, her mother found her with that knife and rushed her to the hospital.
So you get to the hospital, and what did the doctors at the hospital say to you?
They did a lot of questioning just on my history, what my family life was like. They asked me, is there anything else that you want to share, anything else that's causing you to feel scared at home or anything or in your life? And that's when I said, yeah, there's something else that I want to say, and I told them that I was being sexually abused at the same time.
You told the doctors?
Yeah.
And it was one of those doctors who called the police. Shortly after, a close family member of Katya's was charged with sexual assault and sexual interference. But things did not get easier. After speaking to police, Katya was summoned to talk to the elders, a 10-year-old girl in a room full of men.
What did they specifically ask you about the sexual abuse?
I remember the elders actually asked me, do you know if there's 2 other witnesses involved to this? And I said no. And they said, well, nothing we can do, leave it in Jehovah's hands. They didn't even say we're sorry to hear what happened to you or anything.
Katya says one elder took it even farther.
And he said if you really were sexually abused, that you would have squealed like a pig, which you did not, which means it never happened. And he told me that I'm a liar and that I need to clear this person's name and tell the police what I said was not true.
Katya refused, but it didn't matter. Before the trial, her alleged abuser fled to Europe, where he lives to this day and is the father of 2 young girls.
You both feel in your experience that this organization protected the pedophile at the detriment of the child, of you both.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It really does destroy your soul. It's almost like, in my opinion, it is murder, because you kill the person inside.
Hiding the crimes.
The written policy was, we keep known child molesters secret.
While victims suffer.
My innocence was taken away.
When W5 continues.
Sebelum saya lanjutkan bahasannya, jika Anda ingin mendukung channel ini terus menyingkap rahasia ajaran Saksi Yehuwa, silakan subscribe dan tekan belnya agar Anda tidak tertinggal video berikutnya. Jika Anda menyukai bahasan video ini, silakan like, dan yang paling penting adalah jangan lupa untuk berbagi video ini kepada saudara Kristen lainnya agar mereka dapat terhindar dari penyesatan saksi-saksi Yehuwa. Saksi-saksi Yehuwa berkeliling dari rumah ke rumah, siap untuk menjerat orang Kristen yang kurang memahami ajaran Saksi Yehuwa yang sebenarnya. Jadi, semakin banyak orang Kristen tahu bahwa organisasi Lembaga Menara Pengawal hanyalah sebuah kultus berkedok agama Kristen dan tahu ajaran yang sebenarnya, maka tidak ada satu orang Kristen pun yang mau menjadi anggota Lembaga Menara Pengawal. Terima kasih. Tuhan Yesus memberkati. Saksikan juga video bagian kedua yang akan membahas kasus pedofilia ini saat diajukan ke pengadilan. Bagaimana kesudahannya? Siapakah yang memenangkan kasus ini? Apakah pengadilan dapat membuktikan bahwa Lembaga Menara Pengawal berdosa?